Hey, seniors. I don't remember which side the lens is on. There it is. Where? So, we were going to start Greek mythology last week, but I was like, these dudes are super overwhelmed with stuff because everybody's emailing them a bunch of crap. So, in order to alleviate that, over like this week, we're going to read the Rage of Achilles. It's our first, it's our first real lesson in this Greek mythology unit. Now, on your study guide, you're going to see some stuff like some nonfiction stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. We're just going to focus on the stories right now, and we're going to look at our study guide and the different important terms we should know. So let's look at the Rage of Achilles on our study guide real quick, because there are a few words that we need to know before we start reading this book, like a few literary terms. First is epic hero. So what is an epic hero? Well, an epic hero, let me just look it up so I give you the right definition. Basically, an epic hero is a hero from an epic poem that portrays all these traits that heroes have. And as always, I go back to Batman. So, when we think about Batman, Batman is a hero. Usually epic heroes are of noble birth. If you think of Batman, he was. Think of the Waynes and how much money they had and how prestigious they were in the community. Let me just drink my coffee real quick. They usually have some superhuman abilities. I mean, we could say that Batman doesn't, but Batman's money and his innovativeness and his bravery, which is also a trait, allows him to seem almost superhuman. I mean, think of some of the stuff that Batman does. They are usually unmatched warriors. Batman definitely falls into this. I mean, who could take Batman? It's Batman. I mean, even when Bane was trying to kill him, Batman whipped his butt in the end. They are usually legends. Who doesn't know about Batman? They display some form of humility, and I think that, again, Batman falls into that category. And they battle supernatural foes. When you look at people like Bane, you look at people like Joker, who are seemingly, my computer's making noises, who are seemingly human, but not human at the same time. Bane definitely falls into that category. Joker falls into that category because he is his sociopathic tendencies, his inability to care about anyone but how himself and how he feels. My eye is red. Makes him fall into that category. But let's just throw out the definition of epic hero real quick. And you can Google this too, because that's what I'm doing, just to give you a good solid definition. A brave and noble character in an epic poem admired for great achievements or affected by grand events. Now, our first story that we're going to read is from the Iliad, which I'm going to send you a YouTube link to a summary of the Iliad and why it's important and stuff like that. But I'll give you a brief synopsis of why it's important. Everything in Western culture has been affected by the Iliad. The notion of war and how war isn't a great thing, but it brings out great things in people, was from the Iliad. Homer wrote the Iliad, not the dude from The Simpsons. But it is considered, along with the Bible, one of the greatest writings ever. And it's an epic poem. An epic poem is just a novel that's one giant poem. The story we're going to read is a poem, but it doesn't read like a poem. It's not all Dr. Seussy. But I'm going to read some of it with you, and this is what I want you guys to do. I'm going to read about half of it with you. I want you to read the other half on your own this week and try to fill out your study guide or try to have the answers to your study guide. Yeah. So, recap. We're reading the Rage of Achilles. An epic hero is a hero that, let me just read it again. A brave and noble character in an epic poem, admired for great achievements or affected by grand events. And then I'm going to read half of it to you, and I want you guys to read the rest of it on your own and try to fill out the study guide for it, and I'll eventually give you a quiz for it. There was something else. Oh, yeah. There's another term we got to know. Credibility. Well, that is a term that is really relevant today, isn't it? It was very relevant in your papers. Speaking of papers, hi, Dalton Thomas. I watched your YouTube video. If you don't think you deserve the 87, I can lower it. I'm just kidding. You did a good job, dude. Even though you don't think you did, which is something I find a lot of you doing. You don't think you can do it and you automatically give up on it. Don't do that. Life's not like that. Life, it's not easy, but you get out of it what you put into it. And keep that in mind throughout your life. Nothing comes easy, but hard work gives you great advantages in life. But you got to bust your butt, and that's just the way it goes if you want to be awesome. But let me just give you a solid definition of credibility. The quality of being trusted and being believed in. Okay, so let's look at the Iliad. I'm going to send you a link to the copy that I'm reading. And I'm also going to send you a link to that YouTube video that summarizes Homer's epic, the Iliad. This is the first book from the Iliad. It's called The Rage of Achilles. And everybody's heard of Achilles. Have you seen the movie Troy? Brad Pitt is Achilles in that. It's kind of the story of the Iliad. Okay, let's just get right into it. And I'm going to interrupt a lot. And I'll probably have to do this lesson in 2 parts because we're already at almost 10 minutes. And it takes, like when I make half an hour long videos and stuff, it takes forever to upload. Oh, there's Charlie. Just looking out the window. He's like, man, I'm pretty bored. Me too, Charlie. Me too. But stay isolated. You stay isolated. Why do you need to stay isolated? Because when you do stay isolated and you stay away from people, then this virus goes away quicker, and then we all can return to our normal lives, and hopefully we can be back in school sometime in April, which would be super awesome. I don't know how well that's going to work out. Which would be super awesome, so you guys can have prom and a graduation. So stay away from people if you can at all avoid it or help it. Also, I know what I was going to tell you guys. I bought a motorcycle. I'll show it to you later. Anyway, let's get on with the Iliad. Rage. See, that very first word is going to tell you a lot about Achilles. Rage. Rage goddess sing. The rage of Peleus' son Achilles. Murderous. Doomed. The cost of the Achaeans' countless losses. Hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls, great fighters' souls, but made their bodies carrion, feasts for the dogs and the birds. And the will of Zeus was moving towards its end. Begin, Muse. Excuse me. Ugh. Begin, Muse. When the two first broke and clashed, Agamemnon, lord of men, and brilliant Achilles. So it's setting the story up for us real quick. Agamemnon is the king of the Achaeans, which is what Achilles is. This starts in the midst of a battle between the Achaeans and the people of Troy. Now, for a really long time, everybody was like, oh, Homer made up Troy. Troy's not a real place. But I think it's like in the 80s. I can't remember. It's in the 80s or the 90s. Our books talk about it. I don't have the book in front of me. They found Troy. They found the ruins of Troy. Troy was a real place. It's crazy that it was a real place, and for thousands of years, people thought it was just something that Homer made up, but he didn't. It was real. So anyway, we're gonna see Agamemnon and Achilles, who is Agamemnon's greatest warriors, the greatest Athenian warrior, Achaean warrior, do not get along at all. What god drove them to fight with such fury? Apollo, the son of Zeus and Leto, incensed at the king. He had swept a fatal plague through the army. Men were dying, and all because Agamemnon spurned Apollo's priest. Yes, Chryseis approached the Achaeans' fast ships to win his daughter back, bringing a priceless ransom, and bearing in hand, wound on a gold staff, the wreaths of the god, the distant deadly archer. He begged the whole Achaean army, but most of all, the two supreme commanders, Atreus' two sons, Agamemnon and Menelaus, all Argives geared for war. May the gods who hold the halls of Olympus give you Priam's city to plunder and then safe passage home. Just set my daughter free, my dear one. Here, accept these gifts, this ransom. Honor the god who strikes from worlds away, the son of Zeus, Apollo. And all ranks of Achaeans cried out their assent. Respect the priest, accept the shining ransom. But it brought no joy to the heart of Agamemnon. The king dismissed the priest with a brutal order ringing in his ears. Never again, old man, let me catch sight of you by my hollow ships. No loitering now, no slinking back tomorrow. The grand staff and the wreaths of the gods will never save you then. The girl, I won't give up the girl. Long before that, old age will overtake her in my house, in Argos, far from her fatherland, slaving back and forth at the loom, forced to share my bed. Now go, don't tempt my wrath. You may depart alive. So basically, this is what's going on. Agamemnon has stolen this priest's daughter, Chryseis. And the priest, he's a priest of Apollo, comes to Agamemnon and is like, dude, can I have my daughter back? I really miss her and love her. Here's some gifts. Here's some ransom for you taking her. But Agamemnon, he digs that he took her. And he's like, no. I'm going to keep her. I'm going to let you leave and still be alive. I'm going to keep her, though. But if we look at this line up here, the whole reason that all of his army is like, no, give her back, is because, let me find the line. Price of things. Oh, there we go. Apollo has put a plague upon these Achaean warriors and army because Chryseis was taken. So Apollo's like, that's my priest. You can't be taking his daughter. Plague. And all of the warriors are like, give her back. This plague sucks. But Agamemnon, being Agamemnon, who is super, super egotistical and selfish and greedy, is like, no, I'm keeping her. I don't care what's happening. I'm keeping her. The old man was terrified. He obeyed the order, trailing away in silence down the shore when the roaring battle lines of breaker crash and drag. And moving off to a safe distance, over and over, the old priest prayed to the son of the sleek-haired Leto, Lord Apollo. Hear me, Apollo, god of the silver bow who strides the walls of Chryse and Scylla sacrosanct. Lord, in the power of Tenanos, Smithinus, or Smintheus, god of the plague, if I ever roofed a shrine to please your heart, ever burned long rich bows of bulls and goats on your holy altar, now bring my prayer to pass. Pay the Danons back your arrows for my tears. His prayer went up to Phoebus Apollo, and Phoebus Apollo heard him. Down he strode from Olympus's peaks, storming at the heart with his bow and the hooded quiver slung across his shoulders. The arrows clanged at his back as the gods quaked with rage. And the god himself on the march, and down he came like night. Over against the ships he dropped to a knee, let a shaft fly, and a terrifying clash rang out from the great silver bow. First he went for the mules and circling dogs, but then, launching a piercing shaft at the men themselves, he cut them down in droves, and the corpse fires burned on, night and day, no end in sight. 9 days the arrows of the god swept through the army, and on the 10th Achilles called all the ranks to muster, and the impulse seized him. Sent by white-armed Hera, grieving to see Achaean fighters drop and die. Once they gathered, crowding the meeting grounds, the swift runner Achilles rose and spoke among them. Son of Atreus, now we are beaten back. I fear the long campaign is lost. So home we sail. If we cannot escape our death, if war and plague are joining forces now to crush the Argives. But wait, let us question a holy man, a prophet, even a man skilled with dreams. Dreams as well can come our way from Zeus. Come someone to tell us why Apollo rages so, whether he blames us for a vow we failed or a sacrifice. If only the god would share the smoky savors of lambs and full-grown goats, Apollo might be willing still somehow to save us from this plague. So here's what Achilles is saying. One, maybe we should get the hell out of here. I mean, there's like a plague. We made Apollo mad. We don't know what we did to him, but he's mad. Two, if we can't leave, maybe we should start sacrificing stuff to him. Because for 9 days, this plague has raged and is killing like the Achaeans in droves. I mean, it says right here, seized him one here, trees being about, he grounding, reading grass. Where'd it go? Oh, and the corpse fires burned on night and day with no end in sight. Thousands of Achaeans are dying because of this plague from Apollo, and Apollo's mad because Agamemnon took Chryseis, one of his priest's daughters. So he's like, arrows that are basically the plague. Look at all of them dying. And Achilles is like, let's get the hell out of here or try to appease this guy. What's his problem? Why does he hate us? We didn't do anything to him. Or this god, not this guy. So he proposed, and down he sat again. The Calchas rose among them. Thestor's son, the clearest by far of all the seers, who could scan a flight of birds. He knew all things that are past, and all things that are to come. The seer who had led the Argive ships to Troy, with the second sight of the god Apollo gave him. For the armies good the seer began to speak. Achilles, dear to Zeus, you order me to explain Apollo's anger, the distant deadly archer. I will tell it all, but strike a pact with me. Swear you will defend me with all your heart, with your words and your strength of hand. For there is a man I will enrage. I see it now, a powerful man who lords it over the Argives. One of the Achaeans must obey, a mighty king. Raging against an inferior is too strong. Even if he could swallow down his wrath today, still he will nurse the burning in his chest until sooner or later he sends it bursting forth, considering it closely. Achilles, will you save me? So basically the seer, which I'm going to guarantee he's blind because all blind people end up being seers in this archetype of literature. But this is what he's saying to Achilles. He's like, I'm going to tell you why he's mad. But as I do this, I'm going to really, really make this really powerful guy mad. And I need you to promise that you'll keep me safe after I piss him off. And because the dude's Agamemnon, he's the king. So he's a little worried for his own safety before he says anything. And the matchless runner reassured him. Courage! Out with it now, Calchas. Excuse me. Reveal the will of God, whatever you may know. I swear by Apollo, dear to Zeus, the power you pray to, Calchas. When you reveal God's will to the Argives, no one, they're called Achaeans and Argives. You'll see that getting switched throughout the story. No one, not while I'm alive to see the light on earth, no one will lay his heavy hands on you by the hollow ships. None among all armies, not even if you mean Agamemnon here, who now claims to be by far the best of the Achaeans. So Achilles, how can I say this? He's super, super, super BA and brave. And he was like, dude, you got nothing to worry about. He's like, I don't care if it's Agamemnon. I don't care if it's whoever. I'll protect you. Achilles got your back. Tell me why Apollo's mad at us. The seer took heart at this time, and he spoke out bravely. Beware, he cast no blame for a vow we failed. For a vow we failed, a sacrifice. The gods enraged because Agamemnon spurred his priest. He refused to free his daughter. He refused the ransom. And that's why the archer sends us pains, and he will send us more, and will never drive the shameful destruction from the Argives. Not till we give back the girl with sparkling eyes to her loving father. No price, no ransom paid, and carry sacred 100 bulls to Crease town. Then we can calm the god, and only then appease him. Basically, this is what the guy's saying. It doesn't matter what we sacrifice. Until this priest gets his daughter back, Apollo's going to be super mad, and he's going to keep killing us. So he declared and sat down. But among them rose the fighting son of Atreus, lord of the far-flung kingdoms. Agamemnon, furious, his dark heart filled to the brim, blazing with anger now, his eyes like searing fire, and with a sudden killing look, he wheeled on Calchas first. Seer of misery, never a word that speaks to my advantage. Always misery warms your heart. Your prophecies, never a word of prophet said or brought to pass. Now again, you divine God's will for the armies, brood it out as fact, while the deadly archer multiplies our pains, because I refuse that glittering piece or price for the young girl Chryseis. Indeed, I prefer her by far, the girl herself. I want her mine in my own house. I rank her higher than Clytemnestra, my wedded wife. Yeah, he's married the whole time he's with this Chryseis girl. Greeks. She's nothing less in build or breeding, in mind or works of hand. But I am willing to give her back. Even so, if it is best for all. What I really want is to keep my people safe, not see them dying. But fetch me another prize, and straight off too. Else I alone of the Argives go without my honor. And that would be a disgrace. You're all witness. Look, my prize is snatched away. So this is what Agamemnon's saying. He's like, first of all, seer, you are only saying negative things about me all the time. Why don't you ever say any of the positive things that I do? Secondly, okay, I'll give the girl back. I don't want my people to die in droves and stuff like that. But I want a war prize to replace her. So let's see what he wants. But the swift runner Achilles answered him at once. Just how, Agamemnon, great field marshal, most grasping man alive, how can the generous Argives give you prizes now? I know of no droves of treasure piled, lying idle anywhere. He's like, there's no treasure anywhere. I thought I saw my chin shaking for a second. He's like, there's no treasure anywhere. What are we going to give you, dude? Whatever we dragged from towns, we plundered. All of it's been portioned out. But collect it, call it back from rank and file, that would be a disgrace. So return the girl to the god, at least for now. We Achaeans will pay you back 3-4 times over. If Zeus will grant us the gift somehow, someday, to raise Troy's massive ramparts to the ground. So these guys are on the outside of Troy on the beaches. It's like if this is the beach, Troy's out there. And so Achilles is saying, listen, Agamemnon, like everything that we've gained so far from all these little towns on the way to Troy, we have divvied up among the men. It's not really right to ask for it back. Why don't you just give her back? We'll eventually topple Troy. I mean, it's inevitable. Once we do that, we'll pay you 4 or 5 times over for you giving up your war prize, this girl. Okay. Before I keep reading, I'm going to stop and make a part 2 because we're already at 25 minutes. So, I shall return. Say bye to Charlie. Well, don't say bye to Charlie yet. She'll be back here too.